Okay, boys, so Honkai Star Rail. Limited 5-star characters, Sparkle and Black Swan will receive character enhancement. Are there any other details to this or no? Just this? It's just this, right? So this is really interesting to me. This is really interesting to me. How I think about this, which is kind of strange here, that means that sparxie is probably going to be different, like entirely, because in my head, I don't understand why they would buff Sparkle if sparxie is coming out and they're relatively similar. Like that just doesn't make sense to me, right? I just feel like they would just leave the old Sparkle in the dust kind of thing. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would like to see, chat, is Sparkle's 50% AA to be 100% AA, or a guaranteed AA. That would be probably the most wanted change from her. She would actually... It's kind of annoying to play around the 50% AA. Guaranteed AA makes a whole fucking load of difference. So, yeah. Black Swan's interesting. When I think about DOT, right? When I think about DOT, it's Xlice and Kafka are like absolutely the core duo, right? And then Black Swan is kind of just an Arcana bot. She doesn't really do much besides that. So I'm curious to see what her actual buffs would be. Yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm actually curious what they would buff though. Black Swan is definitely going to remain in DOT oriented. It's just curious to see what she would do. If I were to think about like what Black Swan does provide, it's mostly just def reduction and Arcana stacks for DOT. But besides that, it's not bad to just be an Arcana bot. Maybe, I don't know. But DOT getting more value maybe happening here. I think Kafka's in a really good spot. It just depends on how strong her actual DOT characters are. Yeah. DOT needs to be more SP positive for me to consider using her more in that comp. That I would agree with. I think DOT suffers from SP problems. I think it does. A lot of other compositions have had their SP problems essentially fixed from all the premium light cones granting 1 SP, or base trace passes granting 1 SP over 2 to 3 turns or something. And DOT doesn't really have that. You kind of always save your skill points for Kafka, and then you basic on Black Swan or High Ceilings until your debuff wears off. That's basically 1.x units found dead in a ditch. I mean, yeah, I see where that's a concern for people. This essentially like guts like all those characters from 1.x back. Personally speaking, I don't know. I feel like Honkai Star Rail is not really a game to like I would not expect HSR to buff any unit that is not relevant to any sort of meta. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think it's on their trajectory. I think HSR is genuinely a more premium game. When I talk about premium, I mean like, you're using 5-star units basically only now. You used to also use 4-star units, but now 5-star units are the cream of the crop. And it is highly specific, right? Like we have specific tailored teams. Cyrene is basically all premium 5s at this point. Break now has Dahlia, which is like absolutely necessary. DOT has Kafka and High Ceilings, which are like basically core. And I think to compensate for that, HSR is giving like 5-star good units for free, right? I think DHPT is a good one. It's a really good one to add because he's actually like really strong. But I don't know how this will keep up, because that basically means that 4-star units are effectively useless. That's how I view it. I think most gacha games though, 4-star units are effectively useless except for the 1 or 2 or rare cream of the crop. I don't think that is to be unexpected as you get, much further along. I think specialized team comps are just the way to go in terms of a developer perspective, so that people can choose units to skip on or invest in. Because at the end of the day, you basically hyper invest in a specific composition and then ignore all the units that are not related to that. And that's fine. So Ting Yun, Pella, and Gallagher are good. Most still have some play. Yeah, but they're slowly starting to phase out. Like newer players can still use those, which are really good, right? Like, I think Ting Yun is still exceptionally powerful. Pella has really good ult up time for def reduction. Gallagher is starting to fade off though. I feel like his sustain just can't keep up with a lot of AoE problems. When your team takes a lot of chip damage, from AoE, Gallagher has a hard time keeping up with the healing, I feel. So, it is what it is. You know, the interesting thing though, like Hyacinth is just insane when it comes to healing, because fucking little Ika is just the gigabot. Like you never have HP problems with Hyacinth. It's actually disgusting. It's crazy. Like once Ika's on the field, it's over. Like your sustain is just completely guaranteed. Whereas for other compositions, like when I use Gallagher, for example, if I feel like for Gallagher, if you don't have a 1 to 2 turn ultimate, it feels really difficult. But having a 1 turn ultimate is like near impossible, and 2 turn is pretty ER intensive. Yeah. DHPT is good though. DHPT is good though. DHPT and Aizen are basically so many people's lifeline. Well, I mean, Huohuo is still good and still useful. She's just not as like meta as those other two, which is not a problem. It's not a problem, but Huohuo does the job. Huohuo does the job, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my feeling when it comes to HSR. I might be out of touch though. It'd be good to get other people's perspective, especially on the second channel. What do you guys think about this? I'm just kind of surprised at Sparkle being the character to buff here. I'm wondering if there's some sort of like duo synergy between these two. Because I really thought that Sparxie was going to essentially be the new Sparkle for a more skill point oriented lineup. But maybe we're gonna see both of them being used at the same time. That would be kind of cool. And then Black Swan is yeah, just for DOT. It's interesting that there's only 2 this time, right? Maybe we can anticipate something DOT related when 4.x hits. Or is that coping? Is that coping? If Black Swan is getting buffed after 4.x update, then maybe DOT is getting some nice elation units. Pause champ. Wait, maybe we could be cooking, bro. Maybe we could be cooking. Maybe we could have like a DOT skill point oriented team comp. Who the fuck knows, man? If they are buffing only 2 characters, maybe that means less characters get buffed, but more frequent. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's hard to read. It's hard to read how they would go about buffs, right? Like I think maximum maybe we get a buff every half patch or half major region. It's like 4.0 and then halfway until 5.0. That's what it feels like. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they start putting out buffs every 3 minor patches or every 2 minor patches. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna see if I have anything to do on early access for these characters. That'd be cool to test out. Given how many hopes were shattered during Jing Liu buffs, I have very little hope, but hopefully I'm proven wrong. Yeah, I mean, some buffs just end up making the unit relatively useful in terms of power level for the current patch, and then they slowly start to fall off again. So, yeah. You know? They buffed Blade just to be good one patch. Yeah, I mean, that's HSR's power creep is known to be a little bit rough and difficult, which is totally, like, it puts a sour taste in players in players' mouths, but at the end of the day, like, that's just their business model, and you can't really fault them for that, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.